What's up everyone? In this video I want to share with you 5 shocking things that you probably didn't know about women and how they experience the dating world. And what you will learn from this, really, what the big benefit is you will be able to be this much better. This is the average guy down here. You'll be this much better in understanding women and being able to do better in your dating life, whether it's a short-term relationship or a long-term serious relationship. These 5 tips will really help you, and full credit goes to this book, Mates, which goes into extensive scientific detail from evolutionary biology and psychology, and really goes through A to Z on what matters in improving your dating life from a superficial to an internal standpoint. Number 1, the first thing that you should know about women is that women are incredibly physically vulnerable at all times to the average man, and they're constantly thinking about this on some level, especially in situations and environments with a lot of strangers and not a lot of girlfriends to protect them. That's why they always move in packs of other girls. And there's a short little thought experiment to kind of put this into your brain and see it from her shoes. Imagine you're a gay man and you go to a gay bar, it's a Friday night, you go to a gay bar and there's just a sea of gay men in there. And all of them are 6 to 7 feet tall. They're as tall as a NBA basketball player. And they're as muscular as the most muscular men that you can ever see. Some of the top NFL football players, or some of the most meaty bodybuilders that you've ever seen. And as soon as you walk into the room, all of their heads swivel towards you and they look you up and down like a piece of meat. And as you walk to get a drink, you're approached and approached. And most of these guys are really bad. Some are weird, some are awkward, some are annoying, some are very, very overly persistent, some are aggressive physically, others will be very physically resentful if you reject them and they lash out at you. But then there's 1 or 2 guys who are actually pretty interesting. They're funny, they're talkative, they're confident, they have interesting lives, they're kind, and you like them. Now this is the world of dating for female. Now, is every environment like this? No, it's just a general rule. I would say more so for people who live in cities, who are out and about more often, for girls who are more attractive, for girls who walk in populated areas a lot, and especially in environments for girls where there's a lot of strangers. And it might seem like it's an extreme example, but look at these statistics. For the average girl compared to the average guy, she is 5 inches shorter, 30 pounds lighter, has 6% more body fat, half the upper body strength, and half the grip strength. So that's basically the ratio between a big guy who's about 6 foot tall and 190 pounds and the biggest NFL lineman, around 6'5" and 310 pounds. And that's basically saying that she's very vulnerable. So what's the point? What's the takeaway? If you can understand this, then you can really start to see how you can address these issues and really show how you are safe and you aren't a creeper and you're not going to rape her or do any of this stuff, because this is always on her mind at some level, especially in dangerous situations like this. And most people, most dating advice never addresses this point, and they never go out and really tell you to address this and be patient and show that you are a trustworthy person. Now, you may be the nicest person in the world, but she doesn't know that because she's just met you. Number 2, she is tired of being objectified. Now, most of you have seen the YouTube video where the girl walks across New York City for 12 hours and she's harassed constantly. And the crazy part is she was a somewhat above average attractive girl, but definitely not the most attractive girl in the world. So you can just imagine how an even more attractive girl would feel like alone in a situation like that. Most girls are tired of being objectified by society, by marketing, by businesses, and it's worked in the past. It's how life used to be, but people still do it all the time. So if you can really treat her as a person and show your interest, not fake interest, but genuinely treat her as a human being and show interest in her other qualities, her other traits, other than just complimenting her looks, you will stand out. It's so common sense, but most people will hear this and say, oh, that's common sense, and they will not even do it. And most people know this and they don't do it. And a lot don't know this and don't do it. Number 3, she's been dealing with creepy people for a long time, especially douchebags, psychos, and overly aggressive psychotics. Now, this one's very interesting. This book claims that most girls are highly experienced in this for a lot of their lives. Now, I would say, just my own opinion, it's not an extreme view where every girl is super into this, but they're saying that most, if not all girls, they're saying all girls have years and years of experience dealing with tons, hundreds of psychotic people approaching them, whether it's people with who are creepy, weird, awkward, whether they're walking down the street, whether they are going to the library. They're getting a lot of this, and because of that, they have a sort of guard to them from all these years of experience, as well as they are more on edge and they're not really open to being approached. And that is kind of shocking to me, but they backed it up with some psychological research. They said that all these studies show that the average guy compared to the average girl is less conscientious, less reliable, less clean, less agreeable, less kind, less friendly, less empathetic, has more psychological disorders, including alcoholism, autism, addictions, white collar, pretty much everything, split personality disorder, mental illnesses, and so forth. And on top of that, when you have all of this combined and people constantly approaching girls, it kind of just adds to this phenomenon. So what's the takeaway here from this point? Basically, the 5% of people who are just psychotic and approach more girls because they have more confidence kind of ruin it for the rest of us in a way. However, you can leverage this and really get ahead by understanding this and finding environments and situations where you can show that you're normal and you're a good guy and get ahead. And the book goes into a lot more detail, but just to summarize, he means stuff like clubs, activities, recreational sports events, volunteer events, all sorts of like community events like that, hobby events. Number 4, she's probably just not into you, and that's okay. And here's why. The reason why she's not into you, let me start there, is statistics from online dating data, as well as scientific research, shows that on almost every domain, a woman on average finds only a small minority of guys attractive, whereas most guys find most girls attractive. Now, this should be no surprise to you, and the reason dates back to evolution. Guys have an infinite amount of sperm and they want to spray it in everything. Girls have a few eggs to distribute. So what's the big takeaway from this, and how is this something that you can use? And why is this not a problem? Here's why. Most guys are not attractive to her for a variety of reasons that you can easily fix, that they're not really aware of as much as they should be. I'm a prime example. I have sucked with fashion my whole life, and I thought I was decent at it. But in reality, I had no idea how much just the fit of your clothes made a difference in how well you looked. And I simply picked up the closest t-shirt I had each morning and walked outside. And I still, don't pay as much attention to it because I'm kind of lazy and I have to fix that. So for most guys, they're way out of shape. That's number one. They have no idea about even the fundamentals of fashion. Things like color, fit, and occasion. Those are like the three pillars of fashion just to get started with. And of course, there's plenty of information on YouTube on getting fit as well as improving your fashion. And of course, there's all that other stuff. Confidence, interesting life, interesting person, humor, blah, 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 blah. Number 4. She already knows she's pretty and she's still self-conscious. So this is a bit of a paradox, but I think you kind of already get what I mean. If not, basically, she knows that she's pretty, but at the same time, she's bombarded by modern society, supermodels, Victoria's Secret models, all sorts of media and marketing and advertising telling her that she's not beautiful enough. So on one side, she's comparing herself to these people and, she knows she's not as pretty as she could be. But on the other side, she knows she's pretty enough, and so she will kind of reject a lot of guys. So it's kind of this like weird type of dynamic going on. So why does this matter? How can you use it to better understand her and improve your chances at dating? Here's the basic takeaway. Of course, it goes into a lot more detail in this book, even with a few pictures. But here's the big takeaway from all this. You need to understand how to navigate this field. Of course, you can't bring up beauty in a way that will offend her or make her feel low self-esteem. And of course, you still want to appreciate what she has. It's not saying that you should never compliment her physical looks. It's just saying that you have to be smart with it. Find those times when she is vulnerable and when she will appreciate those compliments. And of course, there are other times when those are touchy subjects and you don't want to bring it up. And then the final thing, number 5, she's worried about her social status and you're a big part of that. So this one is actually really, really deep. And the basic summary is that for a girl, she has it a lot tougher than a guy. And you may be like, that's not the case. Guys have it tougher. But really, just think this through. A girl has thousands of years of slut shaming and all sorts of humiliation and embarrassment that society puts forth based off religion, culture, and all this other stuff that is, very recently it's starting to break apart with equality, but it's still very clearly there. And it would take another few thousand years to even really truly break away to equality. And the basic idea is that if a guy sleeps with 100 girls, he's looked at as a hero. But if a girl does the same thing, she is humiliated. And then there's professional reputation along with that. And then there's all sorts of other stuff. Her friends will lash out at her from competition's sake and all sorts of other stuff going on. And most guys don't understand this. And that's why I've saved the best one for last. And because you don't understand it, she could be all willing and ready to go with you, but she will choose not to do anything with you if she knows you have a big mouth and you will tell the world and ruin her reputation. She wants those things to stay hidden. What happens with her stays with her. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And it goes beyond just sexual pursuits and the reputation involved with that. There's all sorts of other elements of reputation that a female has to deal with. From female to female competition, again, this book goes into more detail, to all sorts of other stuff like professional relationships, acquaintances, friendships, and on and on and on. Now, here's the final call to action for you. If you liked what this book has to say. I really think it's helped me a lot, and I think it could help you a lot. I highly encourage you, again, no affiliation, I don't know this guy, I wasn't paid to do this, but I thought this book was very useful, and it really took a completely different angle and really gave some contradictory dating advice that a lot of the other advice online doesn't even touch. If you're interested, go ahead and buy this book. I'll leave a link in the description if you want more details on the book. I'll just leave the Amazon page and it'll tell you everything about the book, from how many pages it is, to who wrote it, to the background behind the book, and so on. So that link will be in the description of this video. I encourage you to buy it if you think it's worth your time, and I think it's really valuable. On top of that, there's a counterpart podcast called the Mating Grounds podcast. There's about 200 episodes, and then they say go check out the Art of Charm podcast if you want more. And that podcast is run by a different company, but they are great friends, and that podcast has 1,000 episodes, more than 1,000. So there's a lot of very interesting new things coming out, and this one I really wish I had 5 or 10 years ago. And you're so lucky to have this information. It's not just words on a page. This represents 50 plus years of psychological and painstaking research, and all sorts of incredible stuff, and it goes into a lot more detail. I just want to read you a few more. He has sexual fantasies, but she gets crap for it, but you don't. And then you find out she doesn't have as many as you. And then you find out she's terrified of pregnancy, abandonment, and STDs. And then you kind of learn takeaways on how you can use this to benefit your dating life. Okay, so she's worried about all this stuff. She's worried about being abandoned, and she's just as frustrated with dating as you. She has no problem finding guys to date or sleep with. What she has problems with is finding the right guy and finding the guy she wants. And she's wired evolutionarily to want different things. She wants a husband, not necessarily a one-night stand. Now, again, all the stuff I've said comes from this book. They're the experts, not me. So check it out one last time. And my quick review of the book is, I think it's really good. The one thing is, though, it can be misinterpreted to be taken as extremes or absolutes. So stuff like she wants a wife, or she wants a husband, not a wife. That could be misinterpreted as an absolute. There are girls who are not interested in long-term relationships yet. There are tons of different girls with different attitudes, perspectives, and goals, which makes sense since there's billions of people in the world. So don't take these things as absolutes, like all girls must be scared to death when they walk outside because they're scared of rape, or all girls are just scared to death of STDs, and all girls want long-term relationships and only husbands and don't like to have fun. Thanks for watching, and again, check out this book. It's for your own good. Get it now or get left behind. Leave a link in the description for more details on this book. See you later. Thanks for watching.